Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Comes to you live from the Oscars Internet. This is the Gaming Saloon for April 13th, 2024, with your host, Peacebreaker2448 and Rampant Epsilon.
Hello.
It's been like 3 weeks since we did this.
Only 3?
I believe so.
I'm making jerk.
Somehow it's been long enough, and still there is not a whole lot of news to talk about. But we have some game announcements and some other stuff to talk about, surprisingly. And one thing that after I found out about it, I just go, okay, a thing I thought about this game makes even more sense now, and I'm still surprised it's not happened. But before any of that, Tommy, what have you been playing the last few weeks?
I mean, outside of what we've streamed, honestly, not really anything.
I've got the tryout AFK Journey because of Tag Tuesday having to do like promotion and stuff for it.
And
it seems fine enough. Like, I wasn't super invested into it, so I didn't stick around with it. But it seems fine. It does do a cool thing where whatever is the lowest level character of your party of 6, all other characters that are not in your party are automatically leveled to that level. So you're really kind of leveling up the party slot rather than the party member, if that makes sense. So you can honestly just swap in and out characters as you desire and just kind of like have fun with that. And that's neat. Besides that, I've done the 2.1 story content for Honkai Star Rail since that came out.
And how did that go?
It is still very good. To give a quick synopsis, sort when we last left the Trailblazer and the main character, they just found out that the sister of the guy in charge of Penacony is dead, after also witnessing the death of the friend of theirs that was a tour guide, except not, they were a stowaway, because they have a symptom that essentially makes them lose heat over time. To where they just kind of like stop functioning. So that was wonderful. We ended up making a deal with the tax man that showed us the second murder that didn't take place in the room we were in. It was just a memory of the murder. So we're trying to investigate that the entire time. Meanwhile, one of our party members meets up with the big sword lady that everyone is interested in terms of getting her, to find out that she's essentially, how to describe this, a demigod for a god of nihilism, essentially, is like the best way I can put that without getting into a whole lot of dumb terminology with Honkai. Granted, you don't get chosen to be a demigod of the god of nihilism. You just kind of accidentally end up being one of them if you're just too close to it. Which, by the way, the god of nihilism in Honkai Star Rail is a sentient black hole, because space magic. Don't ask. He's just a sentient black hole. That's just what he is. But essentially, through our investigations and stuff, we figure out that it's somebody within like the higher order of Penacony that is responsible for these murders. And along the way, Taxman kind of betrays us because he figures out the only way to get to the secrets of Penacony is to take a death in the dream to get to penetrate the wall to the outer reaches of this dream. More or less, you gotta take a death to get to the deeper part of the dream. And the only way to take a death is to get killed by something hard enough and big enough. And that turns out to be our demigod of nihilism. So he takes a death to her in order to get to the bigger part of the dream. But in the process of that happening, we end up in kind of at the limbo dream part where we meet up with the big mecha robot guy who's essentially a Kamen Rider again. And we find out that, oh yeah, he's the girl that we thought was dead. That was the tour guide / stowaway the entire time. Because if you didn't see that twist coming, I don't know what to tell you because it was kind of obvious. Once you saw the pieces put together, yes, this small girl is in fact the Kamen Rider. And that's kind of where we've left off on 2.1 for now. 2.2, I think, is next month, I believe. I'm not sure when 2.2 is, actually. But we'll pick up the story from there eventually. Hawkeye Star Rail is very good. It is very good, and it's free to play. But yes, it's a gacha, so you're pulling for characters and stuff. But the game's fairly generous about materials and stuff to get characters. And also, the characters you often get are very fun, regardless of who they are. Even if they're not the big fancy ones, even the not as fancy ones are still fun to play with, so. I can definitely say, if you are hooked by the time you get through the end of the first story of it, which is Urello 6, if you get hooked by it, especially with the final boss and stuff there, you can get through anything in this game because that is the best, some of the best stuff the game has done. But besides that, it's doing runs on Balatro to try to unlock more Jokers and stuff. It's been rough, but apparently they've done an update to where some of the higher stakes difficulties are easier to do now, and they've buffed, I think, straights and flushes and stuff. I think you can only do that on the experimental build at the moment, which is just a toggle you have to do in Steam to get that patch, because it's not quite out yet, but maybe I can get all the Jokers and stuff. I think I want to get all the Jokers and all the decks unlocked in Balatro. I don't want to do the rest of the completion and stuff, which is win with every Joker on every stake in every deck on every stake. Which is essentially to say win at every difficulty with every deck and every Joker. And it's no, absolutely not. That is a nightmare. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything else before we get into news?
No.
All right, then. First up, technically this was already announced. Technically, because of the whole Unity debacle, where the studio just had to go, yeah, by the way, we are working on a Slay Spire 2, but we were having to swap engines because of the whole, Unity nonsense. But now we have an official reveal trailer for Slay the Spire 2. It'll be hitting early access next year. Any thoughts on that?
No. I mean, Slay the Spire's a pretty good game, so no, I don't have any additional thoughts besides
okay.
I kind of hope this goes good.
Yeah. Like I said, this has technically already been announced because the studio did have to just go, yes, we're working on Slay the Spire 2. But it's nice that it's official now with, a nice little reveal trailer and stuff. Next up is a thing I technically knew about a day before it was announced because I follow a leaks Reddit thread for video games and stuff. And someone just dropped this of hey, by the way, the Marvel game getting announced tomorrow is a hero shooter. And I just looked in the Discord where someone was like, I wonder what this Marvel game will be. And I'm like, how do you feel about a hero shooter? As tagged as spoilers. But we have a Marvel hero shooter from the folks at NetEase, which have done other Marvel games apparently that I didn't know about. Because they've done a Marvel MOBA and a other Marvel card game that is more like what Blizzard one? Oh, what? Magic, essentially. Hearthstone, that's what it is. Magic and Hearthstone. And I was looking through the skins in the mobile one, and I discovered they did essentially Kamen Rider Ant-Man. That's just Kamen Rider Ant-Man. Or the Kamen Rider Stronger as Ant-Man. Because the colors are very Stronger-esque. But they put out an announced trailer. This looks fine. It's again, it's a hero shooter in the vein of your Overwatch, and like it's 6v6 PvP. Our roster so far is Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Groot, Hulk, Iron Man, Loki, Luna Snow, Magic, Magneto, Mantis, Namor, Penny Parker, Punisher, Rocket Raccoon, Scarlet Witch, Spider-Man, Storm, and Star-Lord. How do you feel about a Marvel Overwatch?
Guess it could be pretty interesting.
Also, the reason the heroes are being brought together to do all this is because of Galactus's kid. Which, if you didn't know about Galactus having a child, congratulations, you were me until I found out about this, which apparently it's a comic thing. For some reason, the gameplay looks a little slow. I don't know, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't pay attention to Overwatch that much to really judge this. Like, it looks fine. Any other thoughts?
No.
All right, then. Vampire Survivors has more DLC coming. For another $250. We got a Contra crossover DLC. It is coming May 9th. More weapons, characters, 20 evolutions, which, like, assuming they're all 1+1s, that is like at least 20 weapons, maybe 20 items. That's how evolutions work. But yeah, I'm just like, hey, look, more Vampire Survivor stuff. I should probably get back to unlocking all the stuff, because I technically don't have all the Among Us stuff unlocked in like the main game. I've done all of like the Among Us campaign, like the Among Us like little campaign thing, but I haven't done all the main game unlocks for Among Us. So yeah, it looks fun. It honestly feels right because it looks very shmuppy at moments for Contra. But any other thoughts?
No.
All right, then. Next up, we have another little Prince of Persia spin-off game coming out May 14th. It is Prince of Persia, or the Rogue Prince of Persia. And it is a roguelite Prince of Persia, as opposed to the Metroidvania Prince of Persia, which we just got. This looks very nice. Also, I find it hilarious that we've gotten 2 Prince of Persia spin-offs, and they are still working on the Prince of Persia remake that apparently had to restart development.
Hmm.
I can't wait for these spin-offs to be better than that remake.
Right?
Like something will go absolutely wrong with that remake and just it won't come out well. And it's just like, well, at least we got these spin-offs. But anything else?
No.
All right, then. Next up, kind of a weirdly complicated story. So, the initial report, an initial story that went around, was that a Dead Space 2 remake was in development from Motive, but it got canceled. Then, apparently, it was going to be a brand new Dead Space 2 that was a sequel to the remake and not necessarily a remake of Dead Space 2, if that makes sense. But then EA has come out and said that that is not the case, that there was never a Dead Space 2 of any capacity in development. So I don't know what to believe anymore. Apparently, the code name for this might have been for another project that was not Dead Space 2, and that got canned and mixed messaging somewhere. I don't know. How do you...
Sounds about right, actually.
How do you feel about a Dead Space 2 remake and/or sequel to Dead Space remake being in development or not? Maybe, possibly. I have no idea.
Meh. Granted, I also don't really pay attention to Dead Space, so...
Fair. I feel like the Dead Space 1 remake came out, and then people were like, that was good, and then didn't talk about it anymore. Like, it just didn't hit hard enough for a lot of people. Which feels weird, because it seemed like it was everything people would probably want from a Dead Space remake, but it apparently just didn't click. Motive is still working on their Iron Man game, which we have no idea about what it is, besides it's an Iron Man game. But any other thoughts?
No.
All right, then. Last up, Bungie did a little stream and whatnot for the final shape. To talk about some new gameplay stuff and to be like, this is the future of Destiny 2. So there's some extra things to it, but we'll get through the initial stuff first. So apparently, in this gameplay stuff, we have a new class. It is Prismatic class. Essentially, you get to combine light and dark abilities from the different light and dark classes, essentially. I'm not sure if they've explained how exactly it works, but more or less you get to use light and dark at the same time, which sounds cool. And also makes me go, it still feels weird that there are 3 light classes and 2 dark classes when it feels like there should be 3 and 3. Especially if you're doing this mix matching.
Yeah.
But we are also getting a whole new class of enemies to deal with. More or less, they're in the vein of a couple of enemies we've been dealing with so far, but now there's a whole bunch more of them, which sounds cool. So it's like, hey, a new class of enemies to deal with, and the big conclusion DLC for Destiny 2. Hooray. That was the big takeaways, except this whole Prismatic class was leaked back in February on Reddit. And the extra thing is that Destiny 3 was apparently in development. there was some capacity. And that for Destiny 3, classes would no longer exist and characters would spec into any abilities since lore-wise, there's no reason you couldn't. Which kind of plays into the fact of this whole prismatic class being light and dark abilities together for one at the same time. Kind of plays into that idea.
And it also plays into, you know, the only thing that a lot of people liked out of Strand was the grapple hook mechanic, and then there was other pieces of other classes that everyone liked.
Yeah.
To be fair, I'm surprised that they kept the classes as long as they did.
Mm-hmm. But it's also interesting, like, wording from one of the main people for Destiny seems to imply there will be more to Destiny 2 and the greater Destiny story after we're wrapping Final Shape and presumably the 3 episodes to come after the Final Shape. Whether or not that means Destiny 3 or a different, or just continuing Destiny 2 stuff, I don't know. It would feel like a poor decision to launch a Destiny 3 considering what happened with Destiny 2 at launch, Destiny 1 at launch, and every other live service game. So maybe not the smartest idea.
I don't know if I fully agree with that statement there.
Fair.
I think what they need to do is they need to take a step back, look at what really caused certain problems, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And fix that going forward. Why couldn't we have, say, the base game be what's actually on the disc or on the initial download of it, and that could be played offline or online? Why couldn't we have the campaigns set up to where they could be played in an offline single player or a online multiplayer concept?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you this much. Doing something like that would benefit in general, because then, case in point, if we had the old Destiny 2 base game, where you could play it offline of the servers, obviously you're going to have some kind of backdoor hamachi, anything of that nature for people on PC side that want to play together.
Mm-hmm.
Have something like that. I would venture to say people that maybe have just looked at Destiny from afar might be willing to jump in and try it, if they could actually experience the story and not just get dropped into the middle and be like, wait, what? Because that's kind of where the problem is right now.
Yeah.
Destiny 2 is so far in that at this point, if you get a new player in there, they're just dropped into the middle of whatever expansion we're at the moment, and it's like, wait, what? What are we doing here? Who's this? What are those?
And I can attest to this specifically because I did try Destiny's whole new light thing when it first launched, and you absolutely get dropped in there and just are expected to just figure shit out, because you're just given a thing on the side that is just like, here's what's available to you, and it's like, where does anyone begin that has no idea what the fuck's going on? I do. But also, I apparently like the game mode that no one else liked.
From setting up a new class for anyone that is used to Destiny kind of gets that same new player vibe kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
What's bad is it's a good tutorial, I'll give it that. I'm not saying it's not. But by the time that it drops you into the tower for the first time where you're actively interacting with other players, that's the point where it's completely lost. There's no guidance, there's no understanding of the story beforehand. There's no even just vendor or something that you could walk up to and say, hey, give me a recap. I feel like that's what's needed. if they're not going to give you the option to play it offline, kind of deal.
Yeah.
That's where I think a Destiny 3 might be a step in the right direction. Because you would get all that backstory at the beginning of a sequel game. You would have that ability to say, this is everything that has happened leading up to this point. Now go forward.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be the way to bring new players into the game. On top of that, have it designed to where when they do eventually have to pull that content from the server, because they probably would have to at some point, have it set up to where it could be played offline for those that still want to pay the $60 to buy the base game and go straight into it. I don't necessarily think the free-to-play mentality is the perfect decision. I honestly think it does need to be a pay for the base game. Mainly because it needs to be set up that way to where you can pay for the game to play it offline down the road. That's the problem with Destiny 1 and 2 right now. If all the servers went offline at the same time, guess what? You've got two games that do absolutely nothing.
Yep.
And I think that needs to be the step that if they go into a Destiny 3, that's what they need to be thinking. How can we make this work both on and offline when the time comes for us to start pulling stuff from the server? Because, quite frankly, coming out of what I played of Destiny 1, I liked the base game of Destiny 2. I kind of wish they didn't pull that.
Yeah.
To me, that felt like the strongest out of Destiny 2. And then we've kind of just got patchwork, slapped together stuff going forward.
I liked Gambit, but no one else likes Gambit.
No one likes Gambit because Gambit's confusing, and unless you've got a mastery of the game mode, then you're not going to win. And even if you do, the chances of the other three players with you having that same mastery of it, you're probably not going to win.
Oh. I understood what to do, and I had fun. I enjoyed it.
Because there again, much like with the story for Destiny 2, Bungie did the exact same thing with Gambit. Here you go, here's game mode, go play. No. Give us a way to show us what we're supposed to be doing. Don't just say, here, go do it. Show us first, then tell us go do it.
I feel so bad because I'm just like, I enjoy Gambit. Even if I wasn't winning, I still enjoyed it.
It legitimately took me 2 or 3 games before I actually understood what was going on. And even then, I still think I've got a bare minimum understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, there's some strategy stuff.
Too much of a learning curve for that game mode to just be, here, go at it. Yeah. Whereas Crucible, for the most part, if you've ever played Slayer, then you know what to do there.
There is person. Go punch person. Call it a day.
Yeah.
Instead of Gambit, which is, all right, you have punched bad guys. Did you collect the things that they dropped? Yes? Okay, you have to get enough of those to drop a block or to stop the other people from dropping theirs. Okay, but if you drop enough, you get to fight a boss. Okay, whoever kills the boss first wins. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's steps and stages to it all. And also, by the way, one of you can go fuck with the other team.
I was going to say, you missed the PvP part of it. You just talked about the PvE part of it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I barely got an understanding of it after 3 games of it. I got the PvE part really quickly. That PvP part, and just getting randomly destroyed by another player and not understanding how that happened, took me a little while.
Maybe I was at low enough levels that it didn't matter. I was with everyone else who's just as confused and just doesn't understand. And I'm like, cool, we all don't understand together. None of us here are being sweaty sweats on this. Cool. Maybe, I don't know. It was like the one thing I was enjoying about Destiny, and to hear that no one else liked it, I'm just like, oh. Because also, I'm like, I genuinely generally understood like what was going on story-wise in Destiny, because I watch Bife's content. So I have some understanding, but also I'm not that invested in it. So like, that's the other part. Because it's one thing to understand what's happening, it's another thing to be invested in it. And if you're not invested in it, you're not going to care.
But if
like,
you don't understand it, you're not going to be invested in it either.
Right.
So they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Not having the content there and literally having about 10 minutes worth of videos giving you recap of everything is not enough to let you know what is going on.
Yeah.
Not for how many years worth of content?
Yeah, and I also don't think that's...
I feel like, personally, the final shape needs to be Destiny 2's send-off. They need to do smaller content to pad between 2 and 3, and that's it. They really need Destiny 3 just so that they can correct the problems that 1 and 2 have had.
Yeah. But all right. Anything else?
No.
All right, that's the news, folks. But that's it. That's all we got. I have not seen the Fallout show. My dad has watched some of it. He isn't enjoying it well enough, which is more than he could say about the Halo show. So it must be doing something right. And again, my dad does not know anything about Fallout, and he is enjoying it well enough. It must be doing something right, from a casual perspective at least.
Oh, I mean, how many times has it showed a butt?
All I know is the one thing that gets passed around of some dipshit trying to AI upscale the one person's butt in the show from a piece of like the poster or something. That's the only butt I've seen related to the show.
So then that tells me they've actually probably focused on the story then.
It seems I've seen little bits of it. It seems like they are trying. It might also help that all of this got dropped at once, so everyone could just go through this and call it a day. We're not having to linger on this for weeks on end and going, all right, well, how dumb is the show this week?
See, I'm torn on that mentality. On one hand, I feel like when a studio decides they're going to drop an entire show on one day, that kind of just screams they don't have faith in it.
Yeah.
But on the other end of it, with the way everyone likes to binge watch everything, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah.
I honestly think a happy medium would be daily release.
Hmm.
Trickle it out each day until it's out. Then that gives everyone time to digest it, move on to the next one. Or they're waiting maybe 2 weeks max and binge watching the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. The new X-Men show's going weekly on its releases, and it's doing well enough.
Yeah. The internet's not well after this current week's episode.
I'm aware. I know what happened because I'm watching it weekly.
That
Everyone's
that kind of actually surprised me that they went that hard with it.
Here's the thing. I forget if it's the writer or director. It's one of the two that was on the show for this entire season, apparently, because there might be more. I'm not sure. But they were there, but then they've been fired since then, like since the show's been done. For some reason, we still don't know why. But they went to Twitter to talk about this episode in particular. This entire episode was the crux of their pitch for the series. And yes, if you're thinking there might be a little bit of 9/11 comparisons in there, yeah, no, that's intentional. That's literally the point.
Yeah.
They laid out like, yes, it went that hard because we wanted it to be that hard. Does it hit like this real life event? Yes, that's because it was intentional. This was the entire crux of us getting the show and this revival back, was this exact episode. Which makes me go, okay, that puts us halfway through the show essentially. What the fuck is after this? Because there is exactly 2 episodes left before the 3-part finale. The next episode is picking up with Storm. So we're not following up after this episode until 2 weeks from now. Basically.
Also, you were saying might have more seasons. I doubt it.
I say that because Devil Spidey was saying something about there being more seasons of this, but for far as I know, there's only this and that's it.
I doubt there would be more seasons because we're having a 3-part finale for this, for one.
Mm-hmm.
2, if Marvel's fine with them killing off people, like permanent killing them off, then it wouldn't surprise me if this has a very strong hand in Secret Wars kind of deal.
I guess.
And if that's the case, I could completely see this entire universe no longer existing after this season. Just saying.
I do know that in the kind of like, I guess, mid-season trailer that Marvel put out that I know IGN, I know got put out because IGN put it out, dropped a little thing at the end of the trailer that made me go, well, that's interesting that you throw that in here. I was not expecting that. And I also think that's the first time anyone not an X-Man has shown up in this show. I don't know if you've seen that trailer.
I heard about it at least.
Okay, because the Cap Shield is at the end of the trailer, getting thrown at I think maybe Rogue's feet in some snow place somewhere, which makes me go, hi Cap. I'm not surprised, mind you, because this is a continuation of the original X-Men animated series. Cap is canonical to that series because Cap shows up in the Spider-Man Secret Wars crossover episodes for that animated series, and they're connected because it's the same universe, and so is the Hulk show from back then, and so is the like latter seasons of that Iron Man show from back then. So technically they're all canonical. And I believe also Fantastic Four from back then as well. Those are all the same universe because they've all connected to each other in some capacity.
Well, I know the speculations that I have seen for as far as the Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
If those speculations are accurate, and they are, and Marvel's honestly at the point of being willing to set up universes to totally nuke them for Secret Wars, it possibly wouldn't surprise me if we do have a familiar Cap kind of deal. Whether that is from the canonical animated universe side of things, or if it's even live action side of things, because of the whole Uatu being literally present for this previous episode.
I didn't notice that until people pointed it out.
I didn't either.
Missed it.
I didn't either,
like,
and I'm like, oh, huh. And it's the same model that we've seen for, like, What If. It's not a different variation like some of the older cartoons actually would have had. So I'm like, they're trying to drop small hints that this is all connected.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't surprise me if they're fine with doing this, because the X-Men 97 universe just isn't going to exist after this season. Or we're going to find out that maybe it is the same as like one of the live action universes we've already seen that have X-Men.
Yeah.
Because right now there is no confirmation between whether or not we have seen 1 or 2.
I also... It has been a long time since I watched a new Rockstars video, and I watched their episode 5 breakdown. I love how they fucking shotgun spread everybody that could have been behind this fucking kaiju sentinel, except what feels like the obvious choice.
What feels like the obvious choice then?
I'm like, they shotgun everybody but Sinister somehow in their speculation. I'm like, guys, you're just hoping one of these turns out correct. Any one of these.
I honestly don't know if I would see Sinister being it.
Fair. It was just the absurdity of it. I'm just like, you have named like 7 different people who are behind this in the course of this 30-minute video. You're hoping this is right.
Part of the problem is trying to tie that in way too hard to Deadpool and Wolverine. And
Fair.
the speculation that is within that movie. That I'm gonna call it now. It's a Deadpool movie. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's gonna take a completely left-hand turn there. And it is not gonna be what anyone is expecting.
You will get a dumb, off-the-cuff reference to the animated series, and that is about it.
There's not going to be correlation between the two. I highly doubt that. But I think that's where the bulk of that is.
Mm-hmm. Also, they were like, Magneto might be behind this, and I'm like, guys.
Now that one's got comic backing.
I know, but I'm like, that is throwing away the entire context of the episode of Magneto having some PTSD flashbacks to the fucking Holocaust he lived through in the middle of this fight. No, sir. I think you've misread the scene.
I mean, if you paid attention to it, though, the comic line they brought up, he does the exact thing we've seen thus far.
Right.
It's possible. Granted, they're proving they're not following the comic books to the T. So, I mean, it's not probable, but it is possible.
It just feels wrong for this Magneto to be like, oh yes, I'm going to go this fucking hard.
Does it?
I'm like, it feels a bit extreme. They're trying to show a Magneto reining in some. I'm like, okay, he's trying to rein in,
but not ignoring it.
Right.
And it's one of those, you know, he did kind of have the panel of UN members floating in the air and basically told them, don't screw up or I will throw you down there.
Right.
So he's not fully, he's just reining it back a little. So it's possible that he
It
could.
feels like it'd be a bit. I would need a real hard explanation of why he has somehow magicked up a fucking kaiju sentinel to attack Genosha out of fucking nowhere.
I feel like with especially us seeing that flashback, I feel like that's probably not going to be the case. I think they probably framed this to set that up kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But that was intentional for that kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those that does have comic precedence, and if they did play that way, I wouldn't be surprised either.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not following the comics to the T, so why would I immediately think they would? But at the same time, I'm not ruling that out. Most of the Marvel projects that we have seen so far have had comic backing. It's possible.
All right. I guess anything else before we hit releases?
No.
All right, then releases. We're just gonna go to the 15th with Perish for Xbox One Series, Explanation 4 and 5. Let's see. On the 16th, Dave the Diver for PlayStation 4 and 5. That has that Godzilla DLC coming out at some point. I don't know if it's out or not yet. Let's see. On the 17th, Dead Island 2 SOLA for Xbox One Series, Explanation 4 and 5. Find something in the 18th. This is a big thing. Let's see. Epic Dumpster Bear 1.5 DX Dumpster Fire Rebirth for Switch.
I guess it's safe to say that that'll be a dumpster fire.
I want to see what this is real quick. Let's see. It is on Steam as well. It is a shooter. I need some gameplay real quick. Steam, help. These screenshots are not helping. It is an endless runner. Okay. That is not what I was thinking this would be. This is less interesting now.
So it will be a dumpster fire.
It is also very, like, cheap looking. To be generous.
What kind of Flash game is this?
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Also, it's not an endless runner at times, apparently. Because I'm seeing free movement in some of the platforming segments.
Side-scrolling platformer shooter? Question mark?
I guess. I guess, okay, it's not a free runner. You just do have free movement during platforming segments. Okay, so it's just a platformer. Okay.
Action platformer 2.5D is what the tags have.
Okay. It just looked like an endless runner at times, just because of movement.
It looks like someone has tried to take like the Castlevania games for some of it. And honestly, the Sonic bonus stage, the blue balls.
Yeah.
It feels like it's a mash between those two.
Also, I had eShop music playing while I was on the Steam page because of the extension I have.
I don't know. I don't even.
I don't want to call it an asset flip because that feels very mean, but it's certainly got the feel of one. All right, back to the releases. Final Fantasy 16, the Rising Tide DLC for PlayStation 5. Unboxing Idle Factory Simulator for Switch. Which country is larger for Switch? On the 19th, Gas Station Simulator can touch this DLC in Party Time DLC for Switch.
Oh, you skip over the N64 game on Switch?
Corn Kids 64.
I know that's not, but it's one of those, I swear.
Are we seeing?
I want to say.
Are we seeing what this is?
Yeah.
That is some N64 box art I'm seeing. Oh, this is incredibly like, hey, you remember N64 platformers? Here's your N64 platformer.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that is a throwback N64 platformer.
Uh-huh.
All sorts of ways. Which also means it's pretty much a rare throw. It really feels like more of a rare throwback with some of these animations and stuff. These feel like very Banjo Conquer animations and stuff. That is straight up the move from Banjo Kazooie where you just shoot forward in the water. This is the only game in this dev's catalog.
No, it ain't.
Yeah, it is.
No, it ain't.
They have something else? Because I'm not seeing anything on Steam.
I mean, that's the other stuff. Granted, I mean, I know it's publisher, but still, I'm sure something like this is probably together.
Okay, that is
A lot of like
not
retro-esque stuff.
That is not what the publisher, who the publisher is on Steam. It says the same as developer is the publisher, which is Bogosoft. So did Bogosoft make these games? Out of curiosity. No, you just left publisher. eShop, why? Why do you just tell me publisher? I'm looking for developer.
They're the same for this one.
Oh, are they?
Yep.
Okay.
Look at the second link I just put there.
Okay, that's weird because that's not their name on Steam as well. So that's not helping. They are listed as Bogosoft on Steam. Okay, Horn Kids is by Bogosoft, but it was ported to Switch by Diplodocus Games. Okay. Things are making sense now. Thank you. Okay, so Diplodocus Games is a porter of titles from Steam and elsewhere. That is why there's a discrepancy. That is making more sense now. Okay. Anywho. Releases once more. 24th. TMNT Arcade Wrath of the Mutants for Xbox One Series X, PlayStation 4, 5, and Switch. On the 25th, Fallout 4 for Series X and PlayStation 5. Five Nights of Nightmare Escape Horror Story for Switch. Sea of Thieves Premium Edition for PlayStation 5. Anything of interest on the 26th? Guilty Gear Strive 25th Anniversary Edition for PS5. Stellar Blade for PlayStation 5. People keep talking about that game because of the demo and stuff for it. Talent Principle 2 for PlayStation 5. Zombies, Aliens, and Guns for Switch. And that looks to be it. The full list is in our notes, folks, if you want to look at that. Any other thoughts?
No.
All right, then. Tomorrow, it's Ibn Ab. Hopefully it runs better than the last one.
I'm sure it will.
I hope so, because the last one ran terribly for me, and I don't understand why.
I don't either.
Also, thanks to the Soda Pop Discord, I see that someone decided to go, hey, we have ride commons where you're dating the not riders. Would you like a dating simulator where you date the belts? Like the physical, actual belts, not characters pretending to be the belts. No, the actual belt.
Why?
Because a goof. Because of ride commons being like, hey, date the pretty boys who are proxies for these specific writers and other characters. But yeah, that is tomorrow. Next Thursday, I'm continuing Wonderful 101. Next Friday, I don't know because the schedule wasn't updated and you were not around to answer the question.
And I don't know.
Okay, then fair enough. Next Saturday, we start S4 Gridman finally. Hooray!
Unless there's another cyber thing that we're gonna randomly decide to do.
God, no, I did not desire to watch anything more related to Saber for a while.
Oh, why
Thankfully,
not?
the other thing, do you really want to watch Beyond Generations? Because that's the only other Saber thing. I take the silence as a no.
Oh yeah, that one. No, I'm good. I was like, which one was that one? Oh,
that's
wait.
the Saber Revice crossover.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, there's also Superhero Senki. Right, I forgot about Superhero Senki. There's also Superhero Senki, which is the Spring Tyson film. And all, but you know what? This doesn't like upset me in any capacity, so it makes it one of the better ones, I guess. Somehow. That is the only time you ever get to see Aruto and Toma interact. The only time. And it's for like 5 seconds, and then it's over.
Sounds about right.
Poor Aruto. He only got the one crossover with Sogo, and that was it. Like, he technically got the crossover with Double and O's. That was a video game. And nobody counts that. But anywho, that is the week ahead, folks. So if you like what you're seeing, drop a follow. Really appreciate you. Every way that feel like go at TGS Network on Mastodon, on social, and at TGS Saloon on Twitter. We'll give you information on what we got live. Thanks so much for joining Discord and chat. Discord, drop by, say hi. See you tomorrow, folks.